You know that I am not a fan of Netflix, especially after some of its nonsense and social irresponsibility, like trying to punish pro-life states, or at least states, Georgia, for example, that have passed laws like heartbeat laws that they outlaw abortion from the point that a heartbeat can be detected in an unborn child. And Netflix and Disney and other big companies like that have said, well, okay, I guess we're not going to be able to film any more movies in your state because of this horrendous law, which, of course, is in place to protect unborn children. So massive social irresponsibility on Netflix's part, more than once. And some of the things that they have promoted on Netflix are horrendous. Michael Knowles, my friend, he posted earlier, in fact, when did he post this? This would have been last night. It's just a screenshot from Netflix. It's probably his television, and it shows two series right next to each other. One is called Lucifer, and it's this guy who's very handsome. When this thing first came out a couple of years ago, I was peppered with lots of questions from listeners about this, so I made it a point of watching one episode. And the episode is about this guy who's very charismatic, he's very handsome, he's likable, and he's Satan. That's who he is. And it really, I mean, talk about sympathy for the devil if you're a classic rock fan. I mean, this show, Lucifer, is all about sympathy for the devil. And so that's there. I mean, this is something that Netflix is promoting. Well, then they have another thing called Cuties. If you're at all on social media, chances are you're seeing people spinning around on this issue. I'll read to you some information about this on Variety. Netflix is experiencing a backlash over the sexualized portrayal of children, and by children, it's girls, little girls, in its recently released drama called Cuties. It's encouraging critics to watch the movie, which it says makes a statement about pressures young girls face in conforming to societal roles of female sexuality. This is absurd. Their defense of this is absurd, and people are outraged, and rightly so. I saw on Twitter from somebody whom I follow, there was a link to, and I forget now whether it was the trailer or it was just a clip from this, and I could only get about 60 seconds into it before I had to turn it off because it's basically softcore pornography. And parents, if you've got children listening right now and this is age inappropriate for them, then please turn the radio down and come back a little while later. But I want to make sure that no younger ears hear this. So parents, please exercise prudence and caution. Fair warning, ready, steady, go. So the background to this is you've got these girls. It's in French. It takes place in France. And there is a girl. These girls are all about 10 years old. Some of them might be a little bit younger. One of them is a Senegalese girl who is living in Paris, and they say she joins a free-spirited dance clique or club called the Cuties. And it's intended to show her rebellion and their rebellion against what they perceive as society's oppressiveness, patriarchy, this family from Senegal who, from what I could gather from seeing the bit of the trailer that I saw, it looks like they might be Muslim. They released this series on September the 9th, and people are very outraged because there's no way else to describe it. It is sexualizing of these little girls. They do dance routines. And if you know what twerking is, I don't really want to have to explain it to you, but if you know what twerking is, there's a whole lot of that. And more. Where I turned it off, Cyrus, you watched it too, and I don't know if you got any further than I did, but they got to a point in the first 60 seconds where there was this very risque and erotic dance sequence that these 10-year-old girls are doing, and I just said, okay, I'm out. I can't see any more of this.
Yeah, I didn't even make it 60 seconds.
You saw the same thing,
It
right?
was disgusting. It's wrong, and the whole premise is, this story is about how bad it is to exploit children. So they exploit children
the children
to tell the story. It's unacceptable. Like, I'm not a prude when it comes to movies. I will watch anything. I often recommend movies that other people find offensive, and because I forget that people get offended by stuff. This is offensive. It's unbelievable that this was released anywhere. I can't believe it was made. I think the kids' families, like child services, needs to check on these families. The people who made the movie might need to go to jail.
Clap them in irons.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that this is just your kids can go on Netflix and watch this. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. That and it's probably not. The thing is, it's not kids that are watching it. It's creepos.
It's a bunch of adults.
It's a bunch of creeps.
Yeah. Just think how this will inflame the imagination and the lusts of men, for example, who are inclined in this direction. It's horrifying to think of. As a father, as a grandfather, I just shudder at the very thought of it.
Oh,
and,
but
you and I are on the same
But
page.
at least the cast is diverse, right? I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. So it'll probably be up for an Academy Award because it hits all the requirements for a diverse film.
Well, that's true. There is that. But I mean, what a horrid thing.
It's awful.
We have to find. Well, I'm going to put it this way. I want to encourage everybody to just cancel Netflix. Just cancel it. If you love God, whether or not you're Catholic, if you love God and you believe in propriety and decency and not sexualizing little girls, if you don't want to feed into the culture of sex trafficking of children, not to mention the whole superstructure of pornography as it stands in any case, if you don't want to be any part of that, then cancel Netflix. Just cancel it. Just, shut it off. You do it on your phone, do it on your computer, call them up, and just shut it off. And if enough people do that, there are already a number of initiatives that are all over the internet. So Facebook and Twitter is replete with these hashtag cancel Netflix. I completely agree with that. I mean, you need to punish them for their bad behavior. And if you don't punish them for their bad behavior, they're going to do this more and more, and they'll do worse. I mean, I don't know how it can get any worse than a story, a series about Lucifer glorifying Satan. I mean, that's all that is. It glorifies him. Hey, he's really kind of a cool guy, the kind of guy you like to hang out with. And ladies, look at him. Pretty handsome guy, huh? And maybe the men, too, would be certain men anyway. So, I mean, they're already doing that. They have Cuties on now. Doesn't that, stop you in your tracks and make you stop and think, how can I send these people money? Every month I'm funding this horrendous thing that they're doing. So I urge you, just cut them off at the knees.
Yeah, they're trying to normalize pedophilia.
Yep.
So, no.
They sure are. And so I don't want to be part of that, and I don't want you to be part of that. I know you're already not part of that, Cyrus, but I'm just encouraging all of you listening right now. It would be a good thing for you to send them a message. You may say, yeah, but it's just $10 a month. Yeah, but if 1 million people did that, and if you were just like one of 1 million, we've heard about the so-called Million Man March. What if there actually were 1 million people in the United States who said, enough, I'm not going to do this anymore. And they pull the plug, and suddenly from 1 month to the next, Netflix loses $10 million. I think that would send a message. And maybe grudgingly, they might pull this. I don't think they're going to have a change of heart. I don't think the suits at the Netflix corporate headquarters, I don't think they care anything one way or the other than making a buck. And if suddenly 10 million of those bucks is suddenly not in the coffers 1 month because people are saying, enough, I've had it, that might get them to change it, et cetera, et cetera. 888-914-9149. Let's go to Nainoa in Washington. Hi, Nainoa. I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, you are. Thank you. And thank you for taking my call, Patrick.
Sure.
And I really appreciate you bringing this subject up, just because yesterday when I saw this trending again, because this is not the first time that this movie came up, I was super upset about it, and I just needed to let all your listeners know that this is I'll admit that when the whole pro-life thing in Georgia went down and Netflix wasn't going to support filming any movies in Georgia, I didn't pull the plug on Netflix then, but this was something that I couldn't, as you say, this is something up with which I would not put. But
right.
And the thing is that this is almost like a cover-up too, because IMDb, the movie review website, had a parental guide that said, quote, this was legally defined as pedophilia. And then they changed the description of it later on when there was all this blowback. So it's almost as if everybody's in on this and trying to push it, and then they know that it's wrong and they keep pushing it because the trailer came out 3 weeks ago and people were saying the same thing, and then of course they dropped the movie, and then they make it as if the artwork for the movie, like a movie poster, is the problem rather than the movie. And I just want to tell everybody that they should cancel their Netflix subscription, because I'm already texting my friends and texting my family. I've already got my in-laws to cancel their subscription. And this is just a level beyond what anybody should be willing to accept. One more thing is that I shared this on social media, and it was actually crazy how unified the response is. I've had liberal friends that were texting me, conservative friends that were messaging me, and the thing is that they didn't know this was going on. And so if anybody out there wants to share about this, this is something that I think most people on all sides of politics are willing to, take a stand against. This is something that like parents know is wrong, whether you're liberal or conservative. So I just wanted to encourage any person who's listening right now to also do that, as well as cancel their subscription.
I agree 100%. Curious to know, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, and I agree with you. But what was it that wasn't quite enough for you to cancel Netflix when they were trying to punish Georgia and other states because of their pro-life stance? Where did you find the threat? I know you found the threshold with Cuties, but what was it about that didn't quite do the trick for you?
I mean, personal laziness, I think. I'm pretty used to being around, companies that airlines, food makers, car makers, they're all like donating to Planned Parenthood. And I think in my lazy attitude, I was saying to myself that how many of these companies already do this, and like I have to partake because sometimes it's the only brand of something I can get, or it's the only flight that I can take, and I have to unwillingly take this service. But Netflix is something that I can cancel, and I think that this extra push really got me there. And I'm ashamed to say that I wasn't willing to do that for a pro-life reason, which is extremely important as well. But this one was just so overt that I could not ignore this one.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm not trying to grind on you or anything like that. We all have our triggers, and I'm glad that you decided to do that. That's good. And I encourage people, listen to what Nainoa is saying, and just cut it off. Cut off your Netflix. Just unplug it, and you won't miss it. And there are other things that are more or less the same kind of thing. I mean, every channel's got some problems, but there are alternatives to get movies and things. But I guarantee you don't need to be watching Lucifer. You don't need to be watching Cuties. In fact, if you are, you should be going to confession and doing penance for that. Whatever it's going to take, let's make it work. And everybody just get rid of Netflix and send them a message. Nainoa, thank you. I'm really glad you called today. This is an important topic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. And one last thing I wanted to say is that I had a mother message me after she saw this post that I posted, and she said that she will now also cancel, and she's extremely left of center. And I think that this is something that, again, everybody, if the word gets out enough, will take action on this one, hopefully.
Indeed. Yes, from your lips to God's ears. Thank you for that, Nainoa. I appreciate it. Let's go over now to Joe, listening in Cranston. Where? Cranston, what's the state?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Right on.
Island.
Well, welcome, Joe.
Yes, sir. So kind of dovetailing, and thank you, Patrick, on that last caller, I have Netflix stock, and I'm a subscriber. I have the kids section where, myself and the mother of my child will monitor as the kids are watching. But this kind of raises stakes. And then I overheard you mention something about them supporting abortion. So I'm questioning whether I'm doing the wrong thing by both, right? I have a subscription to Netflix, and I have their stock. So if I sold right now, I might be at a loss, but I'm more worried about my soul. So I want you to maybe enlighten me on the right thing to do here for myself.
I am right there with you, Joe. I don't own stock, so I don't mean in that sense. But I'm very sympathetic to your concern about your soul. And I would say really the only thing you can do in conscience is to sell that stock. Because here's why. because you are making money. Just think of this. You're profiting on other people losing their souls, whether because they're watching 10-year-old girls twerking in very tight and revealing clothing. I could only stand 60 seconds of it before I had to turn it off in disgust. But you would be profiting from other people, possibly, very likely even being damned to hell because they're getting into this and what they're seeing, which rightfully, I think, should be designated as child pornography. And also another one called Lucifer, which glorifies Satan. So when you look in the mirror, when you're shaving tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and just say, how do I feel about making money off of the glorification of Satan and the sexualization and exploitation of girls? And then you've got your answer. And I think the only answer could be, get rid of it, and, sow it with salt and never come back to it and cancel your Netflix subscription. Now, I know that, everyone's going to have a different opinion on this, but that's my opinion. And since you asked for it, I'm giving it to you straight, Joe. That's what I would recommend.
It's going today. As a matter of fact, I'm driving, so as I pull over, I'll just hit the sell button and just rid myself of that. And I'm ready to unsubscribe, right? And then I'll talk to Holly after, like, hey, this is what I did.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have to like it. I think she'll understand, and I think it's about my response and how you enlighten me. Now I want to enlighten her, and I think
is Holly your wife?
No, sir. We don't. We live separate places. We're not married. And
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I understand. Well, fair enough. I mean, and you may take some heat from it, but I mean, honestly, how difficult would it be if you just ask somebody, do you really think it's a good idea to glorify Satan? Or do you really think it's a good idea to purvey child pornography?
Right.
Yeah.
She's on board.
I'm glad.
So I appreciate that. And I'm so glad I called in because it is not worth a penny, $1, $1 million. You're literally going to sell your soul for what? Whatever the money is. That's kind of what you're doing with Netflix. You're going to sell your soul for $1.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look at how much money I made in the stock market with Netflix. If you bring that up at your judgment, I have a feeling that's not going to cut any ice with the Lord. I think what he's going to say is, don't you remember when I said, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Yep. I think that's the quote of the moment.
That is. And I'm not even checking. I'm not even going to look at what did I buy the stock for? What is it at now? I'm literally just going to hit the sell button and release that and be done with that. I wonder now what other stocks I might hold, like Google and Amazon. Maybe I need a Catholic perspective on my portfolio. I mean, really.
Why don't you go, when you have a chance, Joe, go to the Relevant Radio app and or just go to relevantradio.com. We have, and I'm blanking on the name, and I wish I weren't, but I am, but we have an advertising partner who focus on Catholic and ethically, morally. What is it now? No. This is stock market. This is investments that will only invest in things that are morally permissible. So maybe I'll find out what that is, Joe, and I'll announce it.
And I listen to you enough where I'll catch on to it. But I just kind of buy little stock here and there. And so, yeah, I think I'll definitely look out. And there's probably somebody I could call and talk to and say, hey, this is what I have. Is there anything immoral about these? And what am I supporting? Maybe do my own little research about a company. It's like, let me check. Do they support Planned Parenthood? I guess there's a couple of questions I might be able to ask. If they do, well, that's a no-go, right?
Right. Hey, here's another thought, Joe, as long as I've got you. If you want to kind of shift the paradigm a little bit, and I mean this sincerely, consider investing in Relevant Radio. Now, you're not going to get a return on your money in hard cold cash, but you are going to be laying up treasure in heaven. So if you were to invest some of maybe the money that you would otherwise put into Netflix or some other socially irresponsible company stock, Invest in Relevant Radio, and you will have dividends that are incalculable, and you'll have treasure in heaven, and you'll know that you'll be helping to push back against this present darkness. So please prayerfully consider doing that. That may be a great way to substitute where your money is going currently into the stock market. Thank you. Cyrus, we've blown way past the break. What do we do? Do we continue?
Let's just keep it going.
Let's keep it going.
I haven't canceled my Netflix yet. I didn't follow your advice 6 months ago, and I have to cancel now.
Yeah,
like they do. I mean, it should have been a line before, but I was like, but I like Stranger Things.
What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I think about that myself all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? Matt Beardsley, who's the producer for Morning Air, he came in while we were talking, and he had his phone out, and he's like, "What is this movie?" So I told him. He looked it up, and I saw his eyes go big, and then he got busy on his phone, and a minute later, he's like, "I just canceled my subscription."
Good.
To Netflix. So goodbye.
Good.
So
love it.
There's one. So let us know. Why don't you go to Twitter and let us know if you've canceled? Maybe, hey Kaylin, let's set up a Twitter. Are you going to cancel your Netflix? Yes or no?
Good idea.
I don't know what that's called.
Well, I didn't really give people an
poll.
option. I just said cancel Netflix.
Yeah, just cancel it. Right. Don't even give them an option. But it would be interesting to see how many of our listeners are moved. Is this the breaking point?
I sure hope it is.
And if this isn't the breaking point, what is?
What could possibly be
what's
the
next?
breaking point?
I don't want to
know.
I don't even want to know.
No. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you, Cyrus. And yeah, make the call. Do it on your app or do it online or call them, but cancel Netflix. They don't deserve your money, quite frankly. They do not deserve your money. And it is, look in the mirror, like I was telling Joe a minute ago. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, how can I send money to Netflix every month knowing that they've got programs like the one that glorifies Satan? It's called Lucifer.
Yeah.
And this other one called Cuties.
Yeah, and these girls in this movie are the age of my daughters. Makes me ill and furious at the same time.
Cyrus, as long as we're on this topic, I want to share with you something I posted the other day. It is a German word. Now, my preamble to this on Twitter was, I neither advocate nor engage in violence, physical or verbal, but still, this German word aptly expresses how I feel about some of the nonsense I see posted on Twitter. And I'm going to substitute Twitter and say Netflix. This aptly expresses how I feel. Now, I do not advocate violence. I do not engage in violence, physically or verbally. But the German word is backpfeifengesicht. Say it with me, Cyrus. Backpfeifengesicht.
Backpfeifengesicht.
Backpfeifengesicht. And it means literally a face that needs a fist in it. Or maybe a little smoother, a person who needs to be slapped.
Can we add that to the Patrick Madrid pool doll version 2?
With my faux German accent. I mean, I think that this word aptly applies to Netflix. Backpfeifengesicht. A fist. Let me say it again. I like saying this. This is a cool word. Backpfeifengesicht. A face that needs a fist in it.
Father Simon has the word of the day every day. So I
bet he speaks fluent German.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm going to have to bring that up to him. That you're still in his shtick.
Backpfeifengesicht. That's my new word for it's my new word for Netflix. The Netflix in German from now on should be pronounced Backpfeifengesicht. Oh, cancel Netflix.
Cancel Netflix. Yep.
We have a break coming. You can cancel it on the break. I want you to report back to me in 3 minutes if you canceled Netflix, okay? I'm coming right back with hour 3 of the Patrick Madrid Show on Relevant Radio and the Relevant Radio app. Where did it go? Backpfeifengesicht.
For more of the Patrick Madrid Show, visit relevantradio.com/Patrick.